All right. Hello, everyone. Uh, Thank you for coming and thank you for waiting. I thought I was going to be here a little bit before my album ended, but I didn't. So you heard 5 tracks instead of 4. Now, before I begin, I need to change my Wi-Fi. So bear with me 1 second. Well, just let me know if it's good because I have the Wi-Fi signal that's like, it's telling me it's not that great. So before I go on to the video, just let me know if audio is fine. Probably is. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I think we should be good. All right, and for video. All right, welcome. wanted to wear not an old shirt, but a Christmas shirt, but it's kind of hot outside. Well, it's not hot, but it's like 60, which is kind of hot for December. Let me go ahead and I decided not to, I need to keep my website on hand. So actually, let's even just share it real quick, talking about my album, my EP. Technically speaking, it's an EP. EP is anything, I think, 5 tracks and under. There's like a word count thing with novel structure and novelettes and stuff. I think an album is 6 tracks or longer or 30 minutes more. This is an EP, which is 4 tracks up to a little over 17 minutes. Let's go ahead and just share screen that real fast. And then we'll talk about other things as far as including launching the stuff. So yeah, this is Winsome, my EP. It was actually originally going to be a part of an 8-track album, but for creative reasons, I decided to split the 8 tracks I was working on into 4. And it's a little bit more upbeat. It's a little happy, feel good. Actually, the other tracks are as well, but this is more thematically coherent. And then I'm going to work on my other EP, which would be the other 4 tracks I was working on. And then when I finally release it as like a physical CD, physical media, I would just put all 8 tracks together as an album. So you got Winsome here, and you also have Stride, and Sunny Reverie includes violin, my violin playing, my recorded violin, and then Alacrity is also upbeat and feels good, but there's no violin in it. It's just a synth having the melody. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I no AI. It's all me. And it better be all me because it took me like about 3 months longer than I was anticipating, but I wanted to be done so I can release something this year, 2024, and we'll celebrate 2024 together as I stretch. And good. So thank you guys for coming. And Crystal Ashes asks the question, will the latter EP, the second EP, maybe releasing hopefully by March, that's the plan, have a lock-on feature with this one? What do you mean by lock-on feature? I won't sell it as an 8-track album, not until I get it as a CD, like a physical CD. So that's my question. That's a lame joke, by the way. I don't see. I'm terrible with jokes. You say it's a lame joke, by the way. Yeah, I don't know. I don't get the joke. I apologize. I'm an artist that is slightly aloof to certain things like jokes and sarcasm. So, but yeah, thank you guys for coming. It looks like I have a super chat. I do appreciate that from Ring of Edwin. Your Russian friend would love this. I think you meant to have an emoji there. So I apologize that StreamYard is not showing the emoji, but maybe YouTube is. So we'll see. I'm just on StreamYard right now. But thank you for the $4.99. I appreciate that. So yeah, that's my album. It's 4 tracks, 17 minutes long, for $4. If you want to go to soundengraver.com, just type that in to get an upbeat, feel-good electronic with violin set of tracks. So I'm very happy. I'm very tired because the last few days have just been making sure everything sounds right, the levels are right. I mixed and mastered it too. So this is my first EP. I've mixed and mastered a single before, but this is my first EP that I've mixed and mastered. And it's all about like checking levels and making sure the gain of every track is right, and every bit of audio is not peaking or going over. And last night I was looking over the levels of these masters, and the level meters weren't saying what I wanted it to say, and I was like, you know what, but my ears, every time I try to like get it to where the level meters will be correct, I'm like, it just doesn't sound right. So I'm like, you know what, that's okay, I'm just gonna go with my ears, and we'll see how it goes. And then when I release it as a CD, of course, then it's checking and rechecking, but my ears tell me it's good, it's fine. Prof looked over it before I released it last night, and he thought it was wonderful, particularly the low end. So everything is good. So we'll talk about the year 2024, of course, however that looks like, but a couple pieces of art stuff and maybe AI stuff, because I found something that you guys might be aware of, but I wasn't until like this last week. We'll get into that soon. But let's welcome the chat first. I'm still a little stuffy, just a tiny bit, but I think I have my voice might sound pinched, at least to me, but maybe that's just what's in my head. All right. Professor Geek, my wonderful husband and mod and channel member, says, I'm here to show off my rock star wife. Yeah. He said some very kind words about my music last night on his stream, so I'm very happy about that. We got Ghost Planet. Good to see you. Big Al presents, wishing everyone a happy New Year. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We're coming on the New Year. I for one am quite optimistic for 2025. Subsequent years down the road, maybe, I don't know, but 2025, it's such a good number. Any number divisible by 5 is a good number to me. It looks good. The plan is for me to keep releasing a lot more music. One reason why I just wanted to get this track out, or these tracks, is I have a lot more music in the queue to release, so we'll see how that goes. So I'm excited for 2025. Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't look like I'm peaking or clipping as far as the microphone is concerned. Hopefully it's not too hot. It's green, it's not yellow or red, so that's good. All right, Brian Gilmartin, Happy New Year, you say? Happy new album. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm very happy with the results. It took me longer than I thought. But I had a month of bronchitis. That's one thing that slowed me down. I spent all November recording violin, and then pretty much all of December trying to get the last tracks nice and tight, and finally get the master. The mastering. See, I'm new at mastering, so I don't suppose I'm doing everything correctly. But it was a lot faster than the mixing. I spent so much time on the mixing. So, all right. Thank you so much, Adega Outlaw, also channel member. Happy New Year to you too. I hope you are doing great, and hopefully the writing endeavors are serve you well. So guys, if you're interested in dark fantasy and science fiction, check out Adega Outlaw. That is his name for his writer name on Amazon, or just check out his channel if you like to hear audible versions of his stories. Actually, you know what, Adega Outlaw, this might pertain to you. I don't know. We're going to talk about something I found out with YouTube and AI. You guys might already know this. But before I get into that, thank you so much, Crystal Ashes, for another gifted 5 Sound Engraver memberships. What I think I will do is make exclusive content for members. I really want to give a shout out to channel member names for my videos, but some people come and go, and it's a lot of extra work for me to do that. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe I need to just do some extra content for the channel, but then also specifically channel members. I should also open up like a channel members chat or something if you guys wanted to talk during the stream, and of course your comments would be the first to come into play and shown on this stream. So thank you so much for that, Crystal Ashes. I appreciate you. Samuel Proctor's in. Hello. Final Fantasy is also in. Good to see you. Talking about Sonic 3. I still haven't seen the first 2 films. I need to see all the films. Maybe I'll just see it as a marathon when they all come out. So good. All right. Pischosa's Corner. Good to see you as well. And oh, thank you, Crystal Ashes. Your new tracks are quite lovely. Thank you. I just, I want to get better and better what I do. And takes time, but it's worth it for sure. And let's see. Oh, it's a reference. Crystal Ashes confirms about the lame joke. It's a reference that few people here would get. Oh, okay. So I might not be the only one. Sorry, I'm a wise guy. Yeah. Ghost Planet mentions 2025 is almost here. Not only is Popeye becoming public domain, but also the Disney Skeleton dance short. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I know that dance. That's cool. That's cool. Thank you, Big Al, for your wave. All right, Scorpiopio, Happy New Year to you. Thank you for dropping by. And I think I got everyone. I named everyone in the chat. Maybe there are more people. But let's, more people might stop in. Thank you guys for coming. getting into just discussion. Art. This is just gonna be a casual conversation. I just wanted to launch. I'll make mention of my EP here and there. But yeah. So got some hair caught on my diamond ring. Can you see that? Yeah. It's a really pretty diamond. In case you didn't know, it's a very delicate diamond. And it's if you guys ever like propose to people and you get your girl a diamond ring, this is they have degrees of flawlessness. And I forgot what the category letters are, but this diamond is 1 degree shy of being perfectly flawless. So it's very, very special to me. Let's see. AI, Dig Outlaw says, only AI I use is Grok for images. You have me curious. Okay, let's talk about, okay, one thing about AI. So, one second. Let me, grab some water. I'm still here. I just need to do something real quick. Tom Spiegel, good to see you. Looks like you're half an hour late. Not really. I spent the first 18 minutes or maybe even 20 minutes of the stream just showing off my album. So it was just music before coming in. So you are good. Let's go ahead and share. Let's see if I have the page. Okay, yeah. This is important to share. I mean, it's important to me, so that's why I'm sharing it. Might not be important to anyone else. Let's see if this works, and I'll take the audio out. There. All right. All right, so YouTube settings. I don't think I'm showing anything private or personal, so let's double check this. So yeah, so if you go, okay, basically if you are a channel, if you have a YouTube channel, if you post content, or if you're thinking about posting content into the next year, if you're thinking about producing commentary for something, this is really, really important to consider because this is a relatively new feature. Maybe YouTube was asking me for a while, like, oh, are you interested in this? And I wasn't really paying attention until Top Music Attorney. I'll never say that word right. Top Music Attorney. Top Music Attorney. Until she brought this up. So let's talk about this. So if you go into your settings, if you have a YouTube channel, I mean most people have, go into your studio settings. Actually, I could probably show you where to find this, but you can see in this corner it's a little grayed out right now because of the pop-up, but it's settings and then channel and then advanced settings. So you have all this here. Now if you go down, all this, hopefully I didn't show any information there. But if you go down, we have a new feature. YouTube has a new feature called, oh, don't shout into the mic. YouTube has a new feature called third-party training. And if I check this box, it allows third-party companies to train AI models using my channel content. So my face, my likeness, my voice, my topics, my discussions, my reasoning. And effectively, what this would entail, if it could, if people were interested enough, would say, well, let's just generate an AI version of Sound Engraver content. Now, that probably would never happen. And maybe even my not opting in for this would stop it from happening. Who knows? But what it's setting here, the precedent it's setting is it could generate enough data from my content to have my likeness, have my topics, have my discussions as an AI generation. So like an AI generated Sound Engraver channel. Now, what that would do is not only is that kind of creepy and disgusting to me personally, but what that would also do is revert all ad revenue and maybe even super chats. Maybe they can monetize things like super chats and memberships. And I would never get any of that because I'm not the real AI, I am the real Sound Engraver. I'm not an AI generated Sound Engraver. So any ad revenue going into my videos, especially my evergreen content, any of my memberships or super chats. Well, if people think, well, this is the real Sound Engraver, we'll subscribe to her, we'll give her monetization, or they can monetize my content in other ways. Like so they wouldn't have to. I'll go ahead and stop sharing. But oh, actually, before I stop sharing, basically they wouldn't have to have me as a YouTube partner if they have all my stuff. Now, I'm not saying this would happen. My channel is quite small. I don't even know if it would happen to big channels. I'm really not sure. But the idea that it could happen really is I'm proceeding with caution. So, no, I'm not opting in to allow third parties to train their AI models off of my likeness, my voice, my content. No, thank you. No, thank you. So because of this, because this is now a feature, just in case they don't care that I don't opt in, just, let's say they just go ahead and take my likeness anyway. Hopefully they don't. Um, I'm not allowing users to clip my content anymore. I was fine with doing that, but now that this is a feature, there's no way, because then they still could have enough data if people wanted to clip my content for whatever reason. Maybe they don't like my views on science fiction or whatever, and they want to clip my content, for context. Well, because this AI model training is there, I'm just not going to allow people to clip my content. If it wasn't there, I would have no problem for this, clipping my content for future feedback or input or whatever, but no more. So I'm going to stop sharing there. Yeah, so it's now I'm not opting in, I'm leaving that unchecked, I'm not checking the box. I don't suppose that would stop them from doing something like that anyway, but the fact that maybe I'm causing a little friction, even a little legal friction. So make sure, guys, if you have your YouTube channels, if you do have your content, just make sure if you don't want that to happen to you, just don't check the box, and maybe avoid people clipping your things, because maybe their clips of you and your content on their channel would be enough data for an AI model, because maybe they would opt in. And the weird thing about this whole YouTube asking you to opt in for AI model training, there's no incentive. They're not paying you cash. They're probably not, giving you more exposure. They're not giving you more incentive to produce more content. There's no incentive from what I could see. Now, I have no incentive to do something like that anyway, but like YouTube is just so casual about it. It's like, oh yeah, like hey, this is a feature now. You want to? I was like, well, what's in it for me? Oh, not money? Oh, you might take away my monetization, because then your AI sound engraver will give you the ad revenue, and you don't have to pay me anything. No, I say no. So Adega Outlaw, I know you read your stories on your YouTube channel, so proceed with caution. That's what I would say. All right. Um, yeah, so let's go ahead and continue on down with the chat. I will pause that. Okay, and then I have a couple other things to talk about, and then we can just have a nice conversation. Thank you. You cannot rush art. You can't. You can't. Now, it's true. I struggle with a little bit of perfectionism, but I have to trust that a lot of what I hear in my imagination may or may not translate onto my music. And then what I hear is something people might not hear or catch. So even if I'm completely disappointed with the feature, which I'm not for this EP, I'm pretty proud of this EP. I'm proud of how it sounds. But if there is like anything like, oh, can people catch that, or am I hearing that? So it's not a big deal. Just release the music. As long as the essence of the music track is there, or as long as the essence of your art piece is there. But you're right, it can't be rushed. Let me be clear, it cannot be rushed. Art should not be rushed. Art, you can sell it as a product, like I sell music tracks, but I don't see my music as a product. Yes, I can make money off of it, but I still don't see it as a product. I see it as an endeavor and a personal journey. All right. Samuel Proctor says, I will never watch the Sonic movies, not out of any malice. They just remind me of the kind of movies I hated as a kid. Hop, Alvin and the Chipmunks. Hop? Man, you were a kid when Hop was out? Dang, that's crazy. And the Smurfs, especially the first one. Yeah, I never saw live action Alvin and the Chipmunks. I've only seen the animation when they're like more human sized. Because I think that with the live action, I think they are chipmunk sized, which to me doesn't make sense. Yeah, they're Chipmunks. Uh, so I watched at least one of the Chipmunk movies from I think the 80s. I think they were made in the 80s or 90s. I can't remember. Early 90s. Welcome, Ace. Good to see you. Um, all right. So Samuel Proctor. Oh, you're a member. Let me put you up there. At least you have the option to agree to the AI training model supposedly. I hope it's supposedly. Like, well, no, I hope it's absolutely. I'm still ticked off that Adobe for making it a requirement in the updated terms and service. Now, I'm curious because you were saying something like that last stream. Is it for an updated version of Adobe, or can you keep an old Adobe version where you could not choose that, or you have the choice? I'd be interested because sometimes it's like an updated feature as well, not just updated terms of service. Yeah. All right. Crystal Ashes says, I get that. I feel the same way whenever I draw something. I tend to catch a lot of errors. Oh, you're also a member. Of course, Crystal Ashes. I tend to catch a lot of errors after the fact, and I have to fight against the urge to go back and fix them. Yeah, I'm not against revision. Like when I write, I do a lot of revision. But and I'm just that way. I will write a page of something and then I'll go back to revise it. Now some people aren't like that. They just say write everything and it's like, revision here's what revision is for me. It's not just to get the writing better, which it's a main function of that, but editing and revising my narrative and my prose and my dialogue helps me remember and iterate what's going on in the text. So it's facts that I don't forget about. Me looking over the first 10 chapters of a book or the first 20 chapters, and I will do that over and over again just to remember what I have in the plot. And even then, there will be a couple plot holes. I'm like, you know what? That's actually still not working. I have to change it here. And that's just how I write. And maybe my fiction will take much longer because of it, but it's when the story is really, 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 really important, it's like I have to make it as best as I can before the editing, before the professional editing. So my own editing and then professional editing. Yeah, I still feel like it's kind of congestion, so my voice is cracking just a little bit. Um, I had expected the first Sonic movie to be like those crummy live action CGI hybrid films. And I was pleasantly surprised how it turned out. Yeah, well, I remember the backlash of the first design of Sonic, and then they revamped it. They made him so much better looking, which is good. It's good. All right. There's two other things that I want to talk about. One is a share screen. So I was listening to my tracks before releasing them, before putting them up on my website, and every once in a while, not every year, but every once in a while, I want to go back to my professors. My professors at University of Washington, and also at the University of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and just to see how they're doing, if they have new projects, because even though not so much Milwaukee actually, definitely Washington, even though it was a little bit more experimental, a little bit more, I won't say postmodern, but it was very, both schools of thought are deeply experimental to the point where music might not be accessible, but Milwaukee actually had some pretty interesting music projects. And actually a wonderful performance venue. Kennel, not dang it, a studio. Like it's like this 7-story building, and the top story is for performance arts, and it was great. It was really fun. I remember enjoying a lot of performance with my professors, but with also my students, or not my students, but students as I was a student in Milwaukee. And so I decided like I need to check out if there are new projects coming up with my professors. And I looked up this lady professor I had, Amanda Schoafs is her name, and she did a lot of electronic music vocal experimentation when I studied there, and I studied under her. And I think she probably had a little bit more of a liberal streak as any professor had. She was quite feminine, and not really yeah, I was thinking back. Well, maybe she was a feminist. I don't think so. Well, if she was very very low key, let's say. But she was a feminine artist. She was fine with expressing herself as such. And so I thought, well, maybe she's doing more things with her music group. She had this artist name called Sound Anti Sound, and I kind of roll my eyes, but I'm like, okay. But she still did some interesting stuff. And I found out, and let me actually go ahead and share the screen, and it's kind of bright. Let me make that a little bit bigger so the text, if I can. Yeah, yeah, I guess that's better. So it's gonna be a little bit bright for me. Sorry, but I will go ahead and share that. I found out a few years ago, she didn't mention anything until summer of this year, but in 2021, she actually suffered brain trauma because of an assault. She and her daughter, who was like 3 or 5 at the time, like really young, was assaulted by a man in Milwaukee who was arrested and stuff. But because she was assaulted, she was hit in the back of the head, and she's suffered some brain trauma. And I was shocked when I read that last night. And so let me go ahead and share this. So the lady on the left here, this is her daughter. She had children actually long after I had left. So I think she has a son and a daughter. And I think hopefully she's married, if she is married to a wonderful photographer. He was good in his own right, a good artist in his own way. Amanda Schoaf, so this is my professor from Milwaukee, and she organized this, I think, back in July. Now, this is July 2024. She suffered her brain injury back in 2021. I might not read all of this. She might have needed help reading this, but let me just go through it for you to hear. So this is my professor. I really liked her when I studied under her. Amanda Schoaf is her name. Many of you are wondering what's happened to me in the past years. On the first day of spring in 2021, while walking in Oak Leaf Trail in Shorewood, my child and I were violently assaulted by a man. The assailant used a weapon to strike me on the back of the skull, rendering me briefly unconscious. I have a feeling she may have typed this out, but maybe she needed help writing this out too. Thankfully, I regained consciousness quickly enough to keep her daughter safe. Physically safe. I later learned that I acquired TBI, traumatic brain injury, from the blunt force trauma of the assault. My neurological disabilities from the assault have changed my life. My TBI affects my vision, cognitive stamina, speech, dizziness, sleep, memory, and the ability to understand and process speech, music, and ambient sound. She's an electronic music artist. She was a professor. Maybe she'll get that back with some time. But she's also a mother now. She's a mother of 2. All the extra effort, I'll just go ahead and highlight this. All the extra effort causes me to become extremely tired and have auxiliary speech and cognition issues. My brain becomes easily overstimulated, with Prof and his daughter who has special needs. We know what that's like. She says it makes it difficult, if not impossible, to be in public spaces. My invisible injuries are isolating and create many challenges in my daily life. So this is affecting her socially. Besides, before the assault, I was a university professor and internationally recognized professional musician. Yeah, she did a lot of performing with composition and vocal technique. I spent decades building a successful career in music, performance, and education. For months after the assault, I was unable to even read a simple children's book to my son. I lost my speech, my words, my short-term memory, and the ability to process multiple sounds and language. These are problems I still struggle with. After the extensive therapy with a team of doctors, I now have diagnoses to help me understand the immense challenges like TBI, auditory processing disorder, post-traumatic vision syndrome, or PTSD. And PTSD. So two different things. I also experience painful chronic headaches and muscle spasms, and have chronic fatigue from an acquired neurological disorder, cervical dystonia. I'm not sure what that is, but affecting the body for sure. I'm currently still not able to drive a car or work. I was told by my doctors that I might never be able to return to my career. True to my tenaciousness, I'm doing the best to heal and prove that statement wrong. I like how she says that statement wrong. I like that she didn't say I'm out to prove them wrong. She just wants to go back to teaching music. And, I, as a music educator in my own way, yeah, I mean, it's important. And she was a great professor. She taught me a lot. She's not much older than me. I think she's like 7 or 8 years older than me. She could be like my big sister. Last year, I even taught 2 hours a week, which felt like a small victory, but was also radically challenging with my disabilities. Working 2 hours a week left me unable to keep up with therapy, as managing both at the same time, if not possible. In reality, I need to continue with multi-neurological therapies in order to grow new neural pathways and to heal my brain. This is where I need your help. So basically, she's saying all these conditions, and let me go ahead and I'll put this in my community tab in a little bit, but let me go ahead and put this in the post. Great lady. She did teach me a lot. She was highly experimental with her craft. She taught me a lot of vocal experimental extended techniques. I don't employ those anymore, but I did back in the day. And she was one of those modern composers who worked with extended technique, but who also really employed consonants. I came from Seattle. I'll go ahead and stop sharing. But if you guys wanted to donate that, the link is in the chat, and I'll post that on my community tab sometime tonight or tomorrow. She made her goal, but a few extra donations for her medical bills is pretty important. Anyway, yeah, she was one of those professors that she worked in not postmodern, but deeply contemporary music, new music, with her electronic music and experimental technique with voice in particular. I don't think she did much other instruments unless she taught herself years following my own education. But I remember I came out of Seattle, which was a lot more deeply modern, deeply postmodern, more 20th century. Now Milwaukee was 20th century music too. But I came out of that mindset, and I remember we were in this class doing a lot more ensemble work together in contemporary music and technique. And then I remember she said, now I want you guys to work with consonants as well as dissonance, with things that sound good as well as things that sound like it's disturbing the atmosphere and stuff. And I'm like, you want us to incorporate beauty? You want us to incorporate consonants in our ensemble playing? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, cool. And I remember one of my favorite memories of her. She got so mad when she had these really brightly colored binders. She had pink and green, and I always wanted green, and everyone else wanted green. No one wanted pink, and she loves pink. She's like, she has like a pink amplifier and stuff, and she got mad at us for not choosing pink. She's like, what's wrong with pink? She looked at me too because I was female. I was like, and I love pink now, but I loved green a little more back then. And she's like, what's wrong with pink, guys? There's nothing wrong with pink. So yeah, I wish her the best. I hope her medical bills are taken care of, and I hope with therapy she gets better. I mean, can you imagine having that trauma with 2 young kids? So I hope she goes back to teaching, but I just hope she gets well, whatever she does. Let's see. Excuse me, one sec. I got a cough. Ace says, brain healing is hard. Just get a donor for a new one off the black market. That's what I did. Wow, I don't know what that means, but yeah, I mean, and medical expenses are no joke. So I really hope that she gets enough donations. The goal was 20,000, and she went past that. I put it over 20,200. But yeah, any help is good. So that's for my professor. I hate that I learned that about her. She had the trauma a few years ago, 2021, and she did not start asking help until this summer. So, ask help. Ask help. Yeah, okay. Okay, let's one final thing too is it's just something I was thinking about the other day. Prof mentioned it a little bit on his stream, and you know, it's about art, and understanding how good art is good despite not despite no matter what medium it is, no matter what medium it is. And he was talking about it because I brought it up to him. I don't really follow the Daily Wire, but one person I do follow from time to time, if his topics are interesting enough, is Andrew Clavin. And Andrew Clavin is, I think, in his late 60s. Maybe he's in his 70s. I don't know, but he talks about art and with a little bit more nuance, a little bit more insight than anyone else I know who is on the Daily Wire. I could be wrong, but I think as a screenwriter and a writer of fiction, and just as a movie buff, I think he just appreciates art and he appreciates the seriousness of art. And I appreciate him for that. I think his topics are insightful and nuanced and all that. And his monologues are okay, but I'm not really. I don't care for monologues, to be honest. I don't know why. Maybe someone out there can really send a monologue my way. Like, oh, okay, I get what you're saying. But monologues are not my favorite, and I don't know why. But when he just goes off the cuff and talks about stuff, then that's where I like it. Now, a recent video of his, I can't remember which one, but he's talking about serious movies, and he made this offhanded comment that where, like, because of the new Superman James Gunn films, the new Superman, but we call him the Glute Man, after Fan Man, who called him Glute Man. Professor Geek is going to continue talking about him as the Glute or Glute Man. We know James Gunn is going to do whatever he wants with that character. The trailer does not look promising. In fact, it's another example of me just pining over, good stuff and just aching for this stuff to go away. That we don't need new stuff. We need DC. We need the cinematic universe. We need the television series. We need all of that to go away. We need Star Wars to go away. We need the DC cinematic universe to go away. We need Marvel to go away. We need Star Trek to go away. We need all these franchises. I mean, I do thank God. I don't say that flippantly. I do thank God that no one has picked up Stargate to try again. I'm like, leave Stargate alone. Leave it alone. It's good as it is. But back to Andrew Clavin. He was kind of brushing off, almost in a disparaging way, like, okay, we don't need the superhero movies, we need serious movies, we need culture to get serious about art again. And it's like, the American monomyth that is the superhero can be a serious story. The American monomyth is a serious art form. And when someone like Clavin says, well, it's not serious, I'm like, well, it's not serious now, but it can be. That's my defense. That's my argument. It's not serious now, but it can be. Don't overlook Darwin Cook, Tim Sale, Jeff Loeb, Denny O'Neil, Paul Dini, and a whole other slew of amazing writers and artists who have devoted decades of their lives to a very specific craft that is the comic book. Things that are so well done. Batman Noel, Haunted Night, The Long Halloween, Superman for All Seasons, Secret Origin, all of these. I mean, Superman for All Seasons, if you do look at it, it's incredibly artistically done. It is A-tier art. Not to mention it's a good story, but also Secret Origin, also a really good story. Very, very highly, like, so good. Like, very, very good art. With men being very serious about their drawings, their illustrations, their inking, their penciling, their coloring, and writers who are very serious about writing. And so I get a little perturbed, let's say, when someone who has influence like Andrew Clavin just brush off this superhero genre. And yeah, okay, everything can have an extreme side. You don't want immature babies expressing their unhealthy love of comic books and comic stories and superhero films. Yeah, no, We don't need that. We don't need immature adult way. We need literary figures. We need commentators like Professor Geek, who knows the craft and who has scholarship behind this, to talk about what makes a good art piece good in this specific medium, that is the comic book or the comic graphic novel, or the comic book film adaptation with things like Superman 78. Batman animated series. You cannot deny that that animated series is not A tier. It is so good. And it has very deep, very dark, and not in a nihilistic way, but a very in-depth, deep subject matter that can speak to adults as an animated show. And it's not immature to love that. It's not immature to love Masters of the Universe. You know, He-Man has explored very deep things, very universal, even spiritual things. Things on the human condition, things on good versus evil, things on man versus nature. Batman and Superman and all these people, Star Wars, all these stories have clicked in the human psyche of what it means to be human. Very universal themes. But because it's in a fantastical setting, apparently it can't be taken seriously because it wouldn't take place in reality. It can't be taken seriously. It's like, no, it's not a movie about like the judicial court system and how trials should be taken seriously. Yeah, movies can do that. You can have a court case and make a wonderful movie about it, a wonderful story. There have been stories about that. There have been stories about the Great Depression. There's been stories about Pearl Harbor. There have been video games about these things. Artistically done video games. Yes, those are top tier A-list films, video games, stories, novels, what have you. But it's also the comic book. It's also the comic book adaptation if it's artistically done. It's the Star Wars novel that's artistically done. All these things can be artful in their own way. And just because, yes, it's in a fantastical setting, just because it's sci-fi, just because it's science fantasy, just because it's fantasy, doesn't mean it can't be taken seriously. I mean, that's why I've said this before a number of times. That's why I love science fiction so much, is because science fiction is the avenue to explore in incredible depth the human psyche, the human condition, the human logic, what is good, what is not good when it comes to humanity against itself, humanity against the alien, humanity against machine. And that's what science fiction offers. But because it can't be explored in reality doesn't mean it should not be taken seriously. And so I have beef with people I respect. I respect Andrew Klavan. I do like him for a lot of different things, but he's not right to brush off the comic book story, the American monomyth. Now, I get it. As I said before, people look to comic books and look to the comic book industry as like through the lens of, well, it's just for kids. It's just childish stuff, or it's just grown men who haven't grown up. It's like, yes, there's probably a small minority of grown men who have taken it too far in a very unhealthy way. But there's also scholars, there are also intellectuals, there are also academics and teachers and artists who have taken it very seriously. Now, when I read something like The Long Halloween, it's artfully done. It's so good. Haunted Night, oh my gosh. You can't, excuse me, sorry, I gotta get some water and cough real quick. I hope I'm okay. Okay. Um, you can't read Haunted Night and think, well, these two artists have not taken the art seriously. It's like, no, they've taken art very seriously. And so I say, approach a comic book, an artfully done comic book, with scholarship, with intellectualism, with sincerity, saying this is a good story, this is good art. And don't be, you know, nerdy about it, like in an immature way. Like, we can all be nerds and geeks and stuff like that. You don't be immature about your love for the comic book medium. But I think a lot of these people, as Professor Geek was saying, a lot of these people in Daily Wire, they're just like, go hunting, go fishing, be a man and go out into the woods. It's like, well, C.S. Lewis and Tolkien, I think, were good men and put in a lot of thought, a lot of theology, a lot of liturgy, liturgical ideas, both as Catholic and then also just as Christian, in thematically in their works. I'm reading, I'm going through C.S. Lewis's space trilogy, and it's they're actually relatively small novels, but man, are they deep. They are philosophical. I have to keep going back, like, okay, what is the sentence here? Oh man, incredibly deep, those short works. Very short novels compared to modern day novels, but they were written in the 1930s into the 40s. So after the First War, Great Depression, and kind of getting into the political of leading into the Second World War. I mean, the 20th century has been a very heavy century. It's one of the worst centuries mankind has ever gone through in terms of war, collateral damage, genocide, very deep stuff. So all this literary stuff is coming out of it by very serious thinkers. And I just wish the Daily Wire, maybe they don't do this with Tolkien, with Middle-earth, or C.S. Lewis, but they should also not do that with serious comic book writers and comic book artists. It's the same, just in a different light, in a different lens. And I do get a little miffed. I do get a little ticked off when people just brush it as just like, oh, this is just something you enjoyed as children. It's like, well, first of all, there's nothing wrong with that. And second of all, you can enjoy it as a child and as an adult with a great deal of maturity and new perspective because you're an adult, because you've had some life behind you. No, you just need serious film that's about the Second World War or a court case or something. I was like, there's nothing wrong with that. Read that, listen to that. I mean, read film noir, watch film noir, read a good detective story or something like that. But it's all encompassing. The art and craft is all encompassing. It could be a good piece of art no matter what the medium is. And I think people scoff at the medium, which is a very weird thing to me. As an artist, it's like, well, I scoff sculpture or mural painting or something because that's not serious art. And some people do that, even if they don't like the message, like of some, mural or some wall piece or wall painting outside a city because they don't like the message, therefore they think it's bad art. I'm like, actually, I read an article that had just that. I was like, actually, you might not like the message, but it's pretty provocative art. It's pretty interesting, even if it might be offensive to some people. So anyway, that's my take with Daily Wire and Andrew Clavin. It's just take any art form seriously, even if you don't prefer it. People are like, superhero genre. It's like, okay, Hollywood and the big budget producers, they've not been good with keeping true to the art form and what the American monomyth is, who Superman is, who Luke Skywalker is, if you're going to Star Wars. Yeah, okay, Disney and Hollywood, they've not been good with that. But there have been good caretakers of that medium for decades. That's the thing, too, is that the comic book art form has been around for almost 100 years. Well, I mean, longer than 100 years, depending on the medium, versus illustrations versus graphic novels, whatever the case is. And, people just to brush that all off. It's not meant to be taken seriously. It's meant to be taken very seriously. That's the whole tragedy of what Hollywood has done and what Disney has done. Because they haven't taken it seriously, then people think they ought to scoff at the medium or the fans. Like, well, I don't like superheroes because I don't like fans of superheroes. It's like, well, that's kind of okay. It's kind of like saying I don't like Christianity because I don't like how Christians are handling Christianity. That's exactly what the correlation is. Maybe people might think that's far-fetched. No, it's not, because people have turned away from the Christian faith because of the shenanigans of Christians. It's like, don't look at the Christian, look at the religion. It's very, very simple. Don't look at the comic book fan if you don't like how immature they are. Look at the comic book medium. You are punishing art like you're punishing Christianity if you look at bad examples of the viewer, of the person who takes over, as like the fandom menace, like they're taking over, they're invasive, bad apples, bad actors in the Christian faith. You're looking to them and thinking that's the Christian religion. That's actually not fair. That's not a fair assessment of any of it. So it's like preferring not to applaud Beethoven or Schumann or Tchaikovsky, like not appreciating the composers because patrons of the classical music are old and crusty and they're dying off, and the classical music world is full of very hostile people, very egocentric people. Is that gonna make me not like classical music? No, I still like classical music. Even if the culture surrounding classical music can be very toxic. So I just wish people would just look at art for art's sake. I know people say, don't keep saying that phrase. I was like, well, I need to keep saying that phrase because you're making art the victim. You're punishing art for people treating art in a bad way or saying things that are not true about art. So I got to defend art. I got to be like the legendary art defender. Anyway, let's look at the comics. Let's look at the comments. All right. Let's see what you guys are saying. Ghost Planet says, I agree 100% with the professor. I love, he says, I have anime and manga as alternatives. You can have alternatives, but I don't think we should move away from Superman. Like, don't don't leave Superman hanging just because you don't like the new stuff. Just like go back to the old stuff. We don't need alternatives. That's the other thing too. Is like we need alternative media. It's like no, we just need to uphold what is good. That what came before, in pursuit of what can come in the future. It's easy. I think it's easy. Hopefully my audio is good. It doesn't. Maybe I'm far away. I don't know. But I prefer being a little more far away from my mic than getting the mic too hot. Amiel, thank you for coming. I see you there. Let's see. 1 second. Ace says, and there are smug people like Bill. Wait, how do you spell Bill Maher? Gosh, I forgot how to pronounce his name for a second. That make dumb comments about comics saying know nothing after an important figure has died. Yeah, something like that too. It's horrible that people who have such a large following will say things they don't really know about. Like they'll talk about stuff that they really don't. It's not within their knowledge to talk about, I mean, yeah, have your own opinion about stuff, but make sure you know what you're talking about. And yeah, I get it. Opinions can be opinionated and they can be inaccurate. I'm not saying opinions should be completely thorough, but when you say something with such conviction, I'm not saying Bill Maher has because I don't watch him, I don't know, but when you say something with such conviction, and it's not true. Maybe in your mind you think it's true, but it's not true. It's like, back off. You don't know what you're talking about. All right. Let's see. Fitzjoseph's Corner says the thing is, any superhero movie that deviates from the MCU formula is deemed unprofitable. Well, and that's the sad thing, and I think that's why things like these franchises should just stop being franchises. I'm not against making a profit or making money, even though Disney is not making money, even though they could because they have a lot of things in their vault to make a profit. But when things like, we need to go back to the formula and stuff, and first of all, a lot of the formula is wrong with these modern day superhero films. And I don't think it's just superhero films. Like for instance, we have Rings of Power. That's an abomination. It's not Tolkien. We have the Asimov series, which I haven't seen, but I don't even care that it's not accurate to the trilogy because I'll just go back to the trilogy. But the look, oh my goodness, like these like new sci-fi stories that may be original, I don't know, or like Dune prequels because apparently there's like a prequel coming out with the Dune universe, and it looks the same. It looks like the Foundation TV series. It looks so science fiction, especially from Dune, especially from Frank Herbert, especially from Isaac Asimov. Science fiction can completely blow your mind and blow your imagination away. Uh, there's such good concept art out there. Ralph McQuarrie, among other of his contemporaries, especially science fiction in the 1960s and 70s and in the 50s. Oh my gosh. It can look so good. It can look so good. But it's so modern. It's so ugly. It's so plain. It's so banal. It's like every single, oh, this looks great. Like it's like, no, it looks like Star Wars. It looks like it even looks like Rings of Power if you were to do away with the cityscapes or whatever. It just looks the same. I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of it. Science fiction out of the 1940s all the way through the 1970s and maybe 80s has a very specific look in my brain, and it looks amazing. It looks amazing. And these people it's so gray. It's so ugly. So boring, so ugly. They don't know how to be original. Crystal Ashes says Batman the animated series is smarter and more mature than most of the live action Batman films. I haven't seen, besides the first one, 89, I haven't seen the others, but it's a smart animated series. And it's deep. I've teared up with some of the, especially as you gotta remember, like, you guys know this, like, these people, like, the Andrew Clavens of the world need to remember that people who made the Batman animated series were serious artists who were adults. And people seem to forget that, as if, like, children made the children's comic book. It's like, oh, man. Would you say the same thing about the Hanna-Barbera movie, The Charlotte's Web? No. Then why are you saying it about the Batman animated series or something? You know? Superhero says Brian Gilmartin he says, just need to be heroes again, not these emo edgelord sophists. That's a good description. Constantly giving a word salad, first world problem type speeches about every stupid woe they have. Yeah. And I think, I've said this before, because we live in the first world, yes, we're not struggling. We could in the future, who knows? We're not struggling with material stuff. We're not, yes, there's poverty in the United States, but not on the level of other countries, other continents. But because we are pretty well off materialistically, that stuff, that materialism contends with our soul, contends with our psyche and our psychology. We can become quite deprived, morally deprived, spiritually deprived because we have all the stuff. I'm not saying people in poverty-stricken countries don't struggle with that kind of spirituality, but the materialism imposes upon us a very dangerous temptation. We have it good. And something like the comic book series or, the Batman animated series, stuff like that can work well with that. I mean, you even see that to some degree with Bruce Wayne being a millionaire in the slums of Gotham. So, that stuff is, I mean, it's a treasure trove of topics. Or even science fiction that explore utopian ideas, but at a very serious, very spiritually dire expense. Like if you explore a sci-fi world that is utopian or at least very, very well off, well, maybe you're experiencing bureaucracy, or maybe you're experiencing a very deep, dark secret that keeps the utopian society alive. Like, what's the cost of utopian societies? Brave New World explored that. I guess Ursula K. Le Guin experienced that with a short novel of hers or a short story. And I read the premise, and I don't even know if I want to read it because it sounds pretty. It sounds pretty sick. I'm not saying it's bad. It would speak to me in a really, ooh, this is a scary, scary thing. Apparently, like, this utopian society is built off like one child's eternal misery, and it's like I don't even want to know if I want to read that. But stuff that can be taken seriously, Yeah, first world problems is like the fact that and now that it's different from the first world, but the fact that we live in the first world, we have, you know, we can have problems because we live in a pretty good society so far, in spite of all the shenanigans and in spite of all the flaws. All right. Let's continue. Let's see. I don't want to skip too much. Crystal Ashes says, I found most childish stuff to be more mature than the so-called adult stuff. Isn't that true of modern television? Like, oh, we've got to be edgy and adult. It's like, no, you're being childish because you're avoiding being childlike. It's like, don't lose the inner kid. Don't lose the childlike wonder and imagination of the world. And you could still explore that with very deep themes. As I go back to C.S. Lewis, he did that. No one scoffs at C.S. Lewis as a serious writer. And the thing is, like, you can read something like The Chronicles of Narnia as a child and as an adult. You can read The Hobbit as a child with Tolkien and as an adult. The cave moment, the literal cave moment with Bilbo Baggins before he sees the dragon. That's a very psychologically deep and mythologically deep thing for a human to experience, like for any reader to experience. Yes, and you can read that as a 9-year-old, and you can read that as a 99-year-old, and maybe the experiences will be so much more different. Maybe the resonance will be even far greater as you are reading this story 50 years down your life. It's like, oh yes, Bilbo, I know exactly what you're experiencing right here in this cave moment. Oh, but it was written for kids, so therefore it's childish. The Hobbit is like one of the greatest stories written in the 20th century and beyond. Such a good story. Amy L. Oh, wait, let's see. Brian Gilmartin says, I feel about video games the way you feel about superheroes. You can't just write it as for kids because it's a fantasy world where things go a mile a minute. Yeah. Yeah, and especially with video game players who are pretty good at what they do, they don't want to be spoon-fed, They want to explore the world and see what the objectives are. Amy L says, my original thesis advisor is an artist who's into comics. He actually got published research with a partner in engineering based on the principles of making comics. That's cool. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think Brian is he's talking to Crystal Ashes about how a lot of adult themed uh art now and film and stories are just well, what tends to happen? You say it pulls you down to its miserable level. It also, to that effect, it's also insanely nihilistic. Like, for instance, I'm gonna say I'd have to go back to it, but I have no desire to go back to it. About a few, oh, I'd say about 10 years ago now. It's been that long. I got into the series House of Cards with Kevin Spacey. And I got up to season 3, and I thought the writing, at least back then, I don't know if I would agree with myself now, 10 years later, um, but I thought the writing was really poignant, but it was incredibly dark and nihilistic. Not even it wasn't just the protagonist and his wife who were very dark, very wicked people. Everyone around him besides like okay, everyone around him in the political sphere, they were dark. Like a friendly, oh, it just broke my heart when like a character who was friends with him for years and then storms out of the White House in this crude way and being vulgar and calling him all these names, even though he kind of deserved it, but at the same time, it's like, I thought you were good. Why do you have to be bad just because he's bad? And then all the good people trying to get to the bottom of what's going on, they get killed off. And then apparently at the very last season, because they had the Spacey scandal, so he was out, so he was like murdered off scene or whatever. And then the wife, I think she, like the aide who was loyal to him and then to his wife, um, he dies, he passes away, probably brutally. It was so dark and I don't suppose the writing was good toward the end, after, especially after they let Kevin Spacey go. I only went up to the third season, and I remember debating within my mind. I'm like, you know what? I've watched the show for the first 3 seasons. I've appreciated it, but I don't now that this happened at the end of season 3. I don't know if I can go on. And this was before I really appreciated things like Star Wars and the monomyth and all that. This was before all appreciating what heroism is really like. There was no heroism, and even not knowing about all that stuff, I couldn't finish House of Cards. I was like, it's not for me. I just realized it's like it's not for me. So I stopped watching it at the end of the third season. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. It's it's have at least one, like, okay, if you make the villain the person who is against the protagonist, who is a vile, wicked, murderous man, if you have an enemy that goes up against him, awesome, and then make him succeed somehow. But I think one person who was trying to get to the bottom of it, I didn't even watch it, but he was killed off. I was like, oh man, he was killed off. He was like the last resort. And he wasn't even a good guy. He was kind of a mean boss, and but he wanted to get to the bottom of what was true. I was like, well, that's a good motive for a character. So I was rooting for the character, and then when I found out through Wikipedia that he died, I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't finish the series. So let's see. This is interesting. Samuel Proctor says Clavin and Walsh insult Star Wars on a live stream or something, but then Ben starts defending it. I forgot who Ben was. I don't know. And then Jeremy, boring replays. You don't have to defend Star Wars to these bozos. It's one of the most successful movies of all time, and it deserves it. Well, I hope there was some debate on it. It's like Star Wars is a masterpiece. Yeah, there's some writing issues and stuff, but it's always the original trilogy is, no matter what the prequels will do in the future or what Disney is doing, it will always be in the psyche, the collective conscience of our human psyche. When I say collective, I don't mean like this weird transcendental thing, but I mean like how we collectively as a human race respond to those stories. It's not going away. The original stories is not going away. Whether you never read the EU, whether you never play Knights of the Old Republic, whatever the case is, it's like people are they know they know Luke Skywalker, even not even seen the films. They know who Luke Skywalker is. My mom, she's great. She's like, I've only watched the first three movies. I liked it. I appreciate it, and I have no desire to expand on that. I'm like, that's fine. You like the right stuff. Um, okay, let's see. You guys are talking amongst yourselves. Oh, this is important. If this is a quote, funny you say that because I believe C.S. Lewis said something along the lines of, "Someday you will be old enough to start reading fairy tales again," when addressing the girl he dedicated the first Narnia book to. Wow. Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know behind the scenes. All right. In a way, let's see. Ace says, fandoms are the new religion, devoted people who try to keep it true to how it started, and then there are crazy people who give fans a bad name. Yeah. I mean, like, don't, not that you're saying this, Ace, but, like, don't go to a Jedi Academy and learn the ways of the Force. I'm not saying do that. But just understand that these archetypes speak to people. And it might be another topic altogether. Let's see, it's 7:04, 90 minutes. Let me actually, I might have something to say. Tom Spiegel, thank you. I usually keep channel members up, but this is important. Don't look at the Christian, look at the religion. Don't look at the comic book fan. If you don't like how immature they are, look at the comic book medium. These are words of wisdom. Oh yeah, I said that. I said that. Okay, I thought you were about to say something different. Well, I'm up here. My comment can say that, or my comment can say that. my remarks. Might be a separate topic. I don't even know how to start. Because today, it's one of those days. I feel it every few months where I feel so pulled to talk about art and defend art. Like I have been defending art on my live streams, but it's a deeply moving personal thing to me. So maybe I'll just say it in a nutshell. And let's see, how do I start? I was watching an interview with Jordan Peterson and Dallas Jenkins, who I think is the director and writer of The Chosen, the TV series. I'll never watch The Chosen. I have no need to. But you know, people are saying like, "Oh, this show has changed my life," and he talked about a lot of things. It's a separate topic. It might be its own video, not even a stream, but its own video because it speaks to me as a Christian who is an artist. I'm not a Christian artist. I'm a Christian and I'm an artist, and they're separate and they're together at the same time. It's like a paradox to me. But Dallas Jenkins is an evangelical, and it'd be interesting to talk about his story and maybe just check out his interview with Peterson, because he said a lot of good things, but he also said a lot of things that just were not correct when it comes to art. And one of those things was in the context of a religious art piece that is something like his TV series, The Chosen. I don't know what it's about. Well, I know it's about Jesus. I know it's about his story and his life and his ministries. I don't know the quality. I can't speak for how good it is or how not so good it is. So if you've seen it and you tell me. I really personally have no interest in seeing it myself. It's just a matter of interest. I'm not against it. It's just a personal matter of interest. But he said something that really just gutted me as a Christian and as an artist, someone who is personally endeavoring to uphold art and be true to art and preserve what is good, true, and beautiful. And he said that in his show, he wanted the most important thing that he got out of it, with people coming to him in tears saying this series has changed my life. And it's because he intentionally made it not just artistic, but personal. Now, I think this is important. There's nothing wrong with that. But in light of that, he said something that is just not true. And this is what it is. He said that's I've made this television series personal to people. Like it's an individual experience for those who watch it, because that's what they say to me. That's what people have been saying to me. It's not like, he named this cathedral that he went to in Italy. Italy. First of all, I can't remember what the name of the cathedral is, so I apologize. But if it's a cathedral in Italy, chances are it's going to be stained glass windows 100, 200 feet high. Something monumentally beautiful, artistic, reverent, holy even. Now, he said that's like one of the most beautiful places in the world, but it's not personal. It's not personal to me. It might not be personal. Well, maybe he didn't say to him specifically, but he's like, but it's not personal in that, like, I have to reach out to the stained glass windows. And is this how I get to God? Do I have to, cross an basically he was saying, do I have to cross an insurmountable distance to get to this God, to get to this heaven? Because you have to be quiet in the cathedral. You have to have, it's a place of solitude. And it's like, and because of that, he says, it's not personal. That is absolutely opposite to the truth. It can be the solitude, the sanctity of such a place. The deeply religious and reverent experience can be also very, very personal. And what he was doing, he's well-meaning, but it was a disservice to art in general. It's like art points you to the reverent, to the good, to the true, to the beautiful. And he was saying, because it can't be personal, therefore people can't attain like a religious experience that is very, very important. And I was like, no, the opposite is true. The art is so good. The art is so transcendental. It brings the spiritual to you. You are immersed in the spiritual. And yes, maybe you have to be quiet. Maybe you're in a place of solitude. Maybe you're in a place of personal confession. But the art is bringing you the spiritual. It's bringing the spiritual and the good to you. You walk in and you're in it, and it can be deeply personal. Maybe it won't be personal, but he was saying it's not a personal experience. And that would not be true of me in my own experience. If I went to Italy and I went to that cathedral, it would be an insanely personal and spiritual experience because of how good the art is. And I was almost weeping in my heart when he said that, because he's signaling to people, because of how great and lofty the art is. Well, therefore it can't be personal. Therefore you can't have a relationship with Jesus. Effectively, he's saying there's the danger of that, and there's no danger. There's no danger of that. And so as a Christian and as an artist, I was like, okay, you're saying a lot of great stuff, but you are not saying what is right in those words. It was toward the end of the interview, and I was like a highly reverent artistic experience can be deeply personal too. Maybe it won't be, but it's not stopping it from the art piece, the cathedral, the walls, the stained glass windows that are 200 feet high. They're not shunning you. All this artwork and stuff is welcoming you to the religious and, yes, to the personal experience. And I'm like, and that's just me as a Christian. This is coming from my heart as a Christian. Maybe you won't agree with me as if you're not a Christian, but he is a Christian. He's an evangelical who said as much. And I was like, that is not true. That is not true. Make something personal, but make something reverent too. And it can be both. It can be both. Okay, so that was a rant. Let me go through these comments. 1 second. Let me grab some water real quick. My prof says, buy the new album, soundengraver.com. So $4 for 4 great tracks. And yeah, I'm really happy. I'm really happy with my music. And I'm so happy. I'm going to take a few days off music. Just write some science fiction, read some stories, play some video games. And then maybe after New Year, I'll start with more stuff. Because I've got a lot of music in the queue. Oh, my stomach. Did you guys hear that? Let's see. And this, it is a live stream. Maybe I should check out this live stream. Would you guys like a live reaction to this live stream? I don't know. No, maybe it'd be recorded. That would be some super. I don't really do reaction videos, but art is so important to me. I might want to watch this like as a recorded thing from StreamYard and then like post it. So don't tell me too much of what they're saying, but let's see. Samuel Proctor, oh, did that go? Yeah, there we go. Samuel Proctor says, in the same live stream, Walsh scoffs at the idea of lightsabers in a high-tech galaxy. Clavin agrees, to which Ben replies, how is that a good point? I might have to watch this live stream. I might have to watch it. I might have to react to it. I don't really watch Daily Wire, but you know what? If they are the alternative to Hollywood, they need to take art seriously. And they think they're taking art seriously, but not from what I'm seeing. Because they're scoffing at medium, at an art form, at an art medium. And I'm sorry, Star Wars is mythology. And you can't discount that. I might have to do a reaction. Would you guys be interested in that? That would be like an EFAP. Which I'm not really for. I don't care for that kind of content, but man, that seems just too interesting. Might not be interesting. It might not be interesting for people to see Sound Engraver react to the Daily Wire. I don't know. And it depends on how long the live stream is. So, yeah. I would react, though. I sure would. So, if you guys... I don't know if I could do a poll. Oh, I can't do a poll on StreamYard. I'd have to do a poll on, maybe on the community tab or something. All right. I have my music stuck in my head. Samuel Proctor, I think, makes a good point. I say what we deem children's content should be taken more seriously than even adult fiction. I think that's true. I think there should be more stories that is, people say we need more family-friendly textbooks and stories and all that. It's like, well, there's your answer. We need to take stories seriously where children can also resonate with that. These stories must mold us more at the age than any other time. How true that is. Not by making the content itself serious, but by giving it more critical attention, higher standards. Like E.B. White, Charlotte's Web, like I read that book repeatedly as a second grader, as a second and third grader, and I watched the movie all the time. And Charlotte A. Kavatica was really one of the first characters I came to who is a personal hero. She gives her life, she gives her all for her friend. She lays down her life for her friend. A very sacrificial, very personal story that I just consumed all the time as a kid. The book is really good, and also the movie, which is also a wonderful adaptation, and it's Hanna-Barbera, and so the animation is great too. And it is a children's book, it's a children's story, but it's super important. Let's see. Let me scroll on down a little bit more. You guys are talking amongst yourselves. Oh, I went down to the chat. All right. Let's see. Oh, Ace does ask about StreamYard. Isn't StreamYard raising the rate on subscriptions that require for recording? Yeah, I'd have to check. I'm using the free version. I only stream a couple hours a week, so I haven't needed to pay for StreamYard, so yeah, I'm fine with that. But I would have to see if it was pre-recorded how much time I would have. Because I don't know how long this live stream is. I'd have to look. Amy L says a lot of angry manga and anime fans are extremely serious, even from an adult point of view. Excuse me. People who think comics are not serious are just ignorant. I mean, yeah, you could say that. Yeah. And like the medium can be horribly destroyed. People can take advantage of that. And I mean, okay, we see this in the indie sphere. Come on, guys. Okay, like I'm sorry. You're seeing it from me, and the more I see it, the more I just want to like punch something soft and not a person. Rippaverse stinks. Like that Rippaverse is the perfect example of how not to take comics seriously. And I hate to use this strong language, but totally I can't even say the word. Maybe I'm prohibited. Maybe my say don't say the word, but you know the word I'm thinking of. It is mutilating the art form that is comics. The characters are horrible. They're jerks. The art it's not bad, but it's not great. The more I looked at the art and well, some of the art is not good. Some of the art is redone. But the stories, the dialogue, the narrative logic of all Rippaverse stories is so wrong and so bad. And it tells me a couple of things, that the writers who were in the comic industry space or doing their own stuff, cool, they're doing their own stuff and they've done great stuff in the past, but they're just there for the money. Eric July has told us by his comics, by his stories, that comics is not an art form. Comics is not a medium. It is a product to sell, because the stories and the characters especially are horrible, are absolutely horrible. And so so I would say, hey, Andrew Clavin, go to the Rippaverse and say, oh, is that comics? No, that's not for me. And then we would say to you, no, that's not actual comics. That's just a product that he's trying to sell. He's just trying to sell a product. Yeah, the books are high quality as far as the covers and the pages, but that's it. Because it's a product. It's not real mythology. It's not real mythology. It's just these characters that have no coherence. They have no coherence. They have no logic. They're incredibly mean. They're incredibly asinine. They're not heroes, but the books are saying they're supposed to be heroes. I mean, they're not good. These comics are not good comics. Now, I'm not saying the Rippaverse is the only culprit of all of this. Plenty of indie comics do not look good. Plenty of indie comics are just there for the cheesecake, for the nihilism, for the edgelord and all that. They're like, no, we want heroes, but we want our heroes to look like this and do this stuff. And it's like, this is you're not following the line and the logic and the narrative and the art of all the great Superman writers, all the great Batman writers, and all the DC characters and the Marvel characters. I haven't gotten into Marvel, really, as far as the comic books are concerned, but maybe someday. I love DC, though. I love DC. I love Superman and Batman are one of my favorite fictional characters. But indie comics, and then Eric July with what his stuff. I don't even care if people like, oh my gosh, you said that about the Rippaverse. It's just like, it's bad art. Eric July's books are bad art. And so if Clavin thinks maybe he got the impression that superhero comics and indie comics shouldn't be taken seriously because Eric July was on Fox News once. Now I know Clavin is not part of Fox News. I think, I don't know. I don't watch either. I don't watch Daily Wire or Fox News. But maybe he got the impression that that's what comics were about, and that's what conservative comics were about. And it's like, no, man, it's wrong, man. It's wrong. So I'm going to say it as much. So anyway, where was I going from that? What came from that? Imaginaria. Good to see you. Hi, Sound Engraver. My brother just got a really cool pair of headphones for the first thing he did was listen to your music. Thank you. Thank you for your work as always. Well, more to come. I hope, okay, so what I did with my music, see, I mixed and mastered my tracks. So composition's mine. Mix is mine. Mastering is mine. It's all mine. It's all from me. Now you're a narcissist. No, I'm just proud. I'm just proud of what I did. I mixed and mastered, but mostly mixed. You can't see it, but I have 5-inch on either side studio monitors, and I decided to mix through the monitors first, then the headphones. And I've been pretty okay with the headphones, with the mix of the headphones. The monitors sound great. So that's what I did. Anyway, y'all, it was me. It was me all along. That's right. Let's see. I'm getting hungry. It's time for date night. It's time for Stargate. Okay, so I think that's all I wanted to share my Winsome album one more time. Yeah, that's Winsome. Sorry, it's one sec, guys. It's getting a little toasty in here. I might have to open the door. Don't worry, I'm not playing the music again. It's too hot for the last few days of December. Last 2 days, right? Yeah, 2 more days. No, 3 more days. Yeah, so I had to open the door real quick. So yeah, that's so Winsome, which is, you know, like I'm pretty proud of like I do the cover art, like I go on Canva and stuff, and I try to make the nice contrast and the font and everything. So Winsome kind of looks feminine, but it's very upbeat, and it's got some good stuff in it. And so I think in the queue for in the next few months is a couple of singles, and they're heavy with harmony and percussion and all of that, and then maybe the four track EP of the other thing before I put it as a CD, because maybe this one would be, these 8 tracks would be the first CD release, because I do want to release CDs. I think they're very important. So if you want 17 minutes of upbeat eclectic music for $4, you also get the cover art as well. That is yours. And you can only find me on YouTube and my website. You won't be able to see this on Spotify. So yes, that means traction on my website, but it's not even that I want traction or traffic on my website. I just, until the streaming culture gets a lot better, I'm not going back to streaming. I'm just gonna announce my stuff. And hey, you can find it on the website. You can download it. It's all WAV files. It's all high fidelity. No MP3. I don't do MP3. Not that people think, what's the difference? I'm like, I hear a difference. I hear it. So Winsome, that's soundengraver.com. I'll go ahead. Oh, that's not how you spell soundengraver. Soundengraver.com for $4. And what's nice is Bandzoogle, the website, or the service that hosts this website, basically I get 100% commission, apart from like a 2% convenience fee through the payment processor. Stripe, they use Stripe, which I'm fine with. Stripe is great from what I can see. Besides like a 2.5 convenience fee, I take the whole commission of the $4. Like maybe it's like $3.70. So it's fully heading my way, which is awesome. But there we go. There we have that. So, and then also, I mean, let's see, if we go up, you can join my mailing list. That's the first page that you see as well. I have a couple things. Let's actually talk a little bit about what I hope to achieve in 2025. You've got my 3 albums here. I know Crystal Ashes has those. You've got River Sprint, which is one of my favorite 2-track EP. Uncharted, which is a little spacey and all that, that I did a few years ago. And then the singles, Maribel and Memorial, Rural Prospects, Evergreen. And then you have I do believe you can download, or at least you can copy. Second Chances, I tried loading it on my website last night. I'll try to get it back on. It was in here somewhere, and it's gone right now. But Second Chances actually will be on my next EP coming up, and then it'll be on my album. But that's all my artwork. Well, it's not mine. It's stuff I designed off of Canva. And yeah, and then I'll put Winsome there maybe sometime tonight. So definitely join my mailing list. The next thing is, you know, I have a store. You know, I have the highest tier for this website. I really need to utilize this website and make it robust. But I'd like to do more piano pieces. These have YouTube videos attached. Old Doll is getting so many views. It's like over 2,100 views since I've published it. But you can get the sheet music for Old Doll, and then also Krista, which is based on a Terranigma soundtrack, or from the video game Terranigma. Good stuff too. Not as popular, but it's I'm very I made that. I made that portrait. I was very happy that I could find that. So I'll stop sharing. But I'd like to actually, I should make a goal like, oh, I need to spend time. Hello, here we go. I need to spend time with I need to spend time with, what was I gonna say? Just doing a little things along the way for the new year. You know, sometimes I'm like, well, let me just do this. Let's concentrate on just this for the new year. And it's like, well, maybe if I like for instance, I'm kind of spacing out here because I'm hungry. What was I gonna say? I have the tendency to just do like, well, if I'm doing piano transcriptions or violin transcriptions, I'm just gonna spend all my time on that. It's like, well, you know what? Let me just set myself a goal for the year. Like, how about 5 piano transcriptions this year? Or, you know, 5 violin piano transcriptions, and just have like a number to go to instead of saying, no, I gotta do like 30 and sell it on my store. It's like, no, let me just have a small number for different things for 2025. So that's been the plan. All right, so Winsome, you can get that for $4. And a lot of it goes to me if you want to support an artist. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Crystal Ashes. Appreciate the super chat. Thanks for a lovely time. See you all in 2025. I'm happy about that. So let's end it there. Happy New Year to you guys all. I hope you've had a Merry Christmas and more art to come. More talking about art and what's good for art, what's not so good for art, and doing all that. So thank you guys so much for your support. I will see you next Sunday. It'll be a new year. We'll be in 2025. Here's to a great 2024. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.